remain disproportionately ahead in both infections and deaths. Joining me now is Dr. Uche Blackstock, Yahoo News medical contributor. Dr. Blackstock, you tweeted this yesterday. While getting your second shot of the Moderna COVID vaccine, you teased an upcoming editorial on, quote, what the Biden-Harris administration needs to do to ensure Black Americans are not left behind in the vaccine rollout. What can we expect to hear from you?
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Reverend Al. Well, first and foremost, we think that Black Americans should be prioritized in the rollout. Race has never been explicitly listed as a criteria by the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices, and no states have listed race as a criteria. Instead, they've used essential worker category or people with underlying medical problems. And we think that Black Americans should be prioritized in terms of the prioritization scheme first. Second of all, as you may recall at the beginning of the pandemic, we called on the CDC and HHS to mandate that all states report complete racial and ethnic demographic data on cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. And now we're saying the same for vaccines that are allocated to our communities. We also need outreach to engage with community members. This is done by trusted leaders like barbers, pastors in our communities, and we need accessible vaccination sites. Hospitals and pharmacies won't do. We need it to be in community centers, schools, and other accessible locations.
Now, NBC News has updated some disturbing numbers from the Kaiser Health News. Quote, in 23 states, data shows white residents are being vaccinated at higher rates than Black residents, often at double the rate or even higher. The disparities haven't significantly changed with an additional 2 weeks of vaccinations, end quote. Your thoughts, Doctor?
And this is not a surprise. We know that many states, when they submitted their vaccine rollout plans to the feds, that they actually did not have an equity program listed within their proposals for the vaccine rollouts. Many states have not even thought about how equity will look like in the rollout process. So this is not surprising if they have not even thought about it to begin with. And so that's why we need the Biden-Harris administration to really hold states accountable for reporting this data and then responding to it, saying, how are we going to perform targeted outreach in Black communities? Because people will say this is about quote-unquote vaccine hesitancy. And I don't think that is necessarily the case. Institutions like our government need to show Black communities why they should be trustworthy. And what that looks like is investing in our communities, centering our communities, and hearing the concerns of community members.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Blackstock. Up next, my final